You're now listening to Shorty Blues Podcast.
Okay. Hello. My name is Jaden Fields, and I am here with.
I'm Cody Conway. Hi, Jaden.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good today. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. So you are in a program. Could you tell me a little bit about this program?
Okay, so I am the facilitator of the Arkansas Collegiate Network, and that's our statewide coalition of colleges and universities that are invested in preventing overdose and substance misuse on campus. This has been around since 2018. And so I'm the current leader, but it's changed hands a couple of times as it's grown and evolved. And yeah, I'm excited to get to come here and talk about it.
I'm excited as well. What inspired you to get in touch with this company or program?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I actually came to prevention from the other side. So I'm a person living in long-term recovery. And in June, like hopefully as long as this keeps going, I'll have 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So that is where my passion comes from for this topic, because I've been in that position in college, and I worked before in treatment and substance abuse treatment for adolescents. And then I got into prevention from that experience. And I was totally new to prevention. Like I didn't understand it at all. I thought it was just the DARE program or whatever, but it's a lot bigger and broader than that. So I've been learning the prevention field, but it all comes back to like my own lived experience and wanting to promote like just healthy outcomes and positive futures for all the students in Arkansas.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is really personal for
Yes,
you,
that's
right?
exactly right.
Okay. If you don't mind, for people who aren't familiar with Save Our Students, what is it exactly and what is it here to do?
Great question. So, Save Our Students, like I said, it goes back to, well, the first one was on March 11th of 2019, but it was rooted in a substance misuse awareness week at the University of Arkansas. So the Arkansas Collegiate Network is, and well, it started out as a student-led initiative. Mm-hmm. So the students at the U of A were noticing that there was a lot of overdose deaths or overdoses happening, or substance use was a huge problem, and they were wanting, the university to take action because they're like, we've had enough. We need support, and this is a serious problem.
Yeah.
So they actually went to the Capitol in 2019, and the Arkansas House and Senate both passed resolutions recognizing Save Our Students Week in the state. So they're saying, yes, this is a big problem.
Yeah.
We see you. Like, we understand that we need to do things to address this.
Yeah.
So since then, we've been having 2 every year. So we have one in the spring and then one in the fall. So typically, it leads up to the Drug Take Back, which is a DEA program across the whole state where you can drop off your unused medications so they don't get in the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. So it's been the Save Our Students Week and then Drug Take Back.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Mm-hmm. Seeing as though you mentioned the University of Arkansas, there was an incident that happened this past weekend. Dealing with a lot of our colleges in Arkansas.
That's right.
So if you don't mind, we're just going to take a few seconds to do a moment of silence for those students.
I think that'd be wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much for that. My next question is, what are some specific challenges that you hope to overcome with our Save Our Students Week?
Well, I think the biggest threat to students right now has been for the past couple of years is fentanyl. So an experience, like doing drugs is never a good idea, but
Yeah.
it's become extremely dangerous because of the amount of contamination with other substances. So a big part of the Arkansas Collegiate Network's goal has been to educate students about that. And last year, actually, there was a law passed called Act 811, where all public colleges, universities, and high schools have to have naloxone. Have you heard of naloxone?
I have not, but I would love to hear about it.
I can't wait to tell you about it. I actually brought some with me here.
Okay.
This is a kit that I got from the Criminal Justice Institute, but naloxone is an opioid overdose reversal medication.
Okay.
So all of our colleges are now equipped with this in these boxes that are mounted on the walls and then in the AED units.
Mhm.
So inside there is this medication. As you can see, it has
Do you
a
mind
weird
if I
shape.
show the camera?
Can you see? Like there. I feel like you can see that there. So it's meant to be inserted in someone's nose. It's a nasal spray. So this can revive somebody who's experiencing an overdose. So with the help of the legislature, we are able to really promote how important this issue is by getting that medication into schools to protect students.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the first goals before we had that law. The Arkansas Collegiate Network was working on getting those into schools on their own. But now we have a lot of support from the state. So our goal is just to save students' lives and make sure that nobody, has to endure a tragedy that could be prevented.
Of course. So these kits, are these located in schools or?
Yes.
They are located in schools?
So I'm not sure where they're mounted at Shorter College. Are they? I don't know the locations on this campus.
Okay.
But typically you'll be able to see them on the wall. They have a big, sign that opioid overdose rescue kit.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. Where could students have access and where could they find these tools if they needed them?
So the state is partnering with an organization called End Overdose. So you can go on their website and get trained in how to use naloxone, and you can order it and it'll come in the mail to your house.
Oh, wow. Straight to your front doorstep.
Straight to your front doorstep.
Great.
It's a good thing to carry just to keep in your purse, and because it's for you if you were to come across somebody who was experiencing an overdose. So we actually had a student from Hendrix come talk at our press conference who had rescued a student, and she had ordered some naloxone just to have in her purse. And her story was so powerful because she was getting ready to go to her first frat party at a different school. And she left the house and then realized that she forgot her naloxone and it was in her other purse. So she went back and she just had a weird feeling and she went and switched the purses and she got the medication. And then lo and behold, she ran into somebody who had overdosed and would have died. So it's really important.
Yeah, thankfully she had access
she
to that.
did, yes. And I really appreciate that she cared enough to think about, the next person.
Absolutely. Okay. I have a few questions for you. It may seem like a lot, but I promise we're going to run through these.
I appreciate them. Thank you for them.
What role do you see college organizations and networks like ACN playing in supporting mental health and wellness among students?
I love that question. Mental health is a huge part. You cannot separate mental health from substance use, especially in college. And it's been one of my hopes that we can integrate seeking mental health care and helping to provide those supports for students in Arkansas, because depending where you are, the amount of resources available are different.
Yeah.
So some schools have huge counseling departments. Others, their counselors are totally overwhelmed and they, the next appointment is 2 months or something.
Yeah.
And then some schools don't have those resources. So something I've thought about, and maybe you can tell me how you feel about this, is kind of going with the support group model, having a format for how you would do that, and then kind of giving it out to the schools as something that if the students want to take it on, they could. So one of our ideas has been to like, there's some schools that have grad students or people who need like internship hours, have some mental health students or like, counseling students facilitate these groups and just have that type of resource available when we can't, like, ideally we would have everybody has free therapy,
Yeah.
That's what I want for everyone.
Okay.
But with what we have, I feel like we can use students to like provide a peer support model.
Of course. I definitely agree with that. I feel like it'll be a lot more beneficial for students to be able to go to other students.
Yeah.
It may feel more comfortable for them versus having to speak to someone who may not understand fully. I'm well aware that any counselor or any staff member has had their fair share. But as a student myself, I feel as a growing adult, sometimes it's better to speak to someone who is also growing
Right there
instead
with
of
you.
who've already been through everything. Yeah. I agree with that.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So as a student, what type of mental health services would you like to see us providing, or like what, how can we help you and your fellow students?
Great question. I don't really know how to answer this question because I feel like there are already so many great resources and connections that students have access to. It's really about student and how much the student wants the resources.
Completely.
And how much they are looking for the help. And I am not saying that because there are some students who are afraid to reach out and feel like they're not being heard or seen as much. For those students, I feel like a leader or a group would help a lot more. Maybe like our Save Our Students Week, we could have a mental health week.
Yes.
The whole week we just take a time and come together, huddle up in a group,
Yes.
and just talk about things. Because sometimes that could heal a lot of people, just talking about it,
Totally.
having someone to listen or listening to someone.
Yes, completely. That's really good advice.
Thank you. Okay. What kind of impact do you hope Save Our Students Week will have on students' perception of seeking help and accessing these resources?
I like you just spoke to this because a lot of the time there's a ton of resources. And then for some reason, and I've been guilty of this, like I'm in law school and there's these electronic boards all over our campus that say struggling, like there's counseling or, and I have a therapist already. I'm very fortunate to have that, but somehow I don't want to be like one of the students who's struggling. I want to be like, I am strong. This is hard, but I can handle it.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's hard to be like, oh, yeah, I am struggling, and I actually can't do this by myself. I was thinking, I think it can have a huge impact just like being the one to say, like, to check in on your friends and say, like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Or like, how are you doing? And beyond that, even just helping them take the first step, like here's a list of therapists, or like, can I walk you to the counseling center? Like if someone did that for me, wouldn't that just change everything? Like,
yeah, it would definitely.
Yeah. I feel like I want to really emphasize how much power is in these small actions that everybody is capable of taking to be there for each other. One of the concepts that's really interesting to me in prevention is we work on protective factors. So we can't address substance misuse directly. So we work on risk factors and protective factors. So we try to bring down the risk factors and then bring up the protective factors.
Absolutely.
So like feeling connected to school and feeling like you have friends and that you belong and, that you're a part of this place can actually be a protective factor to reduce substance misuse.
I agree. I do have a question.
Yes.
Do you feel like you are still in school? Do you see yourself as one of those students who tend to be stronger, or do you tend to, I don't want to say have abnormal days? Because you can have a perfect week and then the next week is like completely, like, what is my life?
Yeah. I think if anybody says that it's never hard for them, they're lying. So I do well in school, but is very hard. Like,
Yeah.
just someone called me this morning on my way to work and was like, is law school really hard? And I was like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. So are you saying like, do I have bad days sometimes?
Yes. And if you do, what are some activities or consolements that you confide in yourself to bring you back
I
to that
love that
strong place?
question. See, this is where I feel like recovery and prevention have a lot in common, because like at the end of the day, if I don't go back to my substance of choice, it's a win for me, you know? And so I'm going to end up needing to use a lot of those same supports, or like choosing other comforts that someone in prevention would benefit from as well. So like never even getting to that point where that is your only support.
Right.
Like learning how to use those other ways of coming back to yourself, and then just, you know, grounding when you had a crappy day or just when it's a lot. So that for me is like the middle of those two worlds of like the recovery world and the prevention world, is how you take care of yourself, and like how do you respond to stress, and like realizing how important that is. So when I'm really upset, I usually go to a meeting, like I go to a 12-step meeting. And I like to exercise. So I've been working out at this place that has you like work out in a sauna. So it's hot, and so you're really just you just are in the moment because it's intense. So I like to rely on community. Getting exercise is like, if I'm truly upset, that is the only thing that'll like bring me back to
Exercising,
sanity.
you are a strong
Yes.
woman. Exercising is not my forte.
It's okay. I'm a yoga teacher, so I like yoga practice has been a big part of my life, and all of that also connects to spirituality. Like if I'm really upset, I will always like connect spiritually first, ideally, or then probably I'll like vent to somebody, you know, go to a meeting, work out, and then I'll remember that I need to like connect spiritually. But I'll still do it. But and then sometimes I've heard this said, like there's white magic, black magic, and great magic, or whatever. And sometimes like I will do things that are not as healthy. They're not as bad as they used to be, but like I'll overeat sometimes, or like to be real. Like
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Full
Like,
transparency.
Yeah, full transparency here on the podcast. But yeah, I'll like sometimes take comfort in foods, or like maybe like watching too much Netflix or whatever. But hopefully it doesn't come to the point where I'm just like, if I'm being a jerk to somebody because I'm overwhelmed, that's a problem. And that tells me like, okay, there's something in this system is not working, and you need to like either let go of something, or, you know, add in some supports. And my therapist is like, every time I see her, I'm like, thank God you're here. Like, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah. It's always great to have that support.
Yes, I've been with her a few years, and so like our relationship is really solid now. And so when I see her, I can just be like,
breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
understood.
What about you? I'm so curious. What is your ways of taking care of yourself?
Being so young, I do feel like I have a lot to learn about myself, which was going to be one of the questions that I have for you, but I'll save it. I do feel like in my generation growing up, there's a lot of chaos in the growing adults and teens and children. And I don't really want to blame it on generational curses, but I do feel like the background that a lot of our students come from has a really big toll on how they live their everyday life to life, as well as their surroundings and the internet. Of course, you cannot forget social media. Social media is the biggest. For myself, I tend to take self-care days. Not really just like going to get my nails done or something, but like you said, trying new foods, or just doing things that give you a sense of relief, a breath of fresh air. Reading books helps a lot. It gives you something to look into or want to come back to. You know, like, I've had a long day, but I've been waiting to get to this next chapter for about 2 days. So this is kind of exciting, you know. I don't really have that many friends. I don't have a therapist either. Maybe I should look into that.
I need to get a therapist. Brittany actually has some good resources for that.
I may need to look into that. I tend to hold a lot of things in
Mhm.
because I am a foreigner to Arkansas. So
Mhm.
it's kind of difficult for me. I feel like I adapted pretty well, but as far as mental health and confiding in other people, it's a big step, especially when you have a lot of going on. You don't know what someone else has going on or what they've been having going on. So you don't really want to pour your, that's just how I feel.
Yeah. Like, can they be there for me? Like, do they have the space
Yeah,
to be there for me
yeah,
if I were to?
because I don't want to overwhelm them any more than they already are. And in my generation, that is a big factor. Everyone doesn't like being told what to do. They're very, I don't want to say defiant or anything, but we are chaos. We are definitely chaos. And hopefully it gets better with time. But the way that it's looking, I pray for my fellow people. I pray for us. But as far as my well being goes, yeah, just touching like the inner self and I don't really go to saunas. Like I said, I'm not really a gym
Yeah.
girly. I actually hate the gym.
I don't blame you. It's okay.
um, but yeah, trying new restaurants and watching new movies, seeing things I haven't seen before, traveling. That's kind of how I get my sense of relief. Yeah.
And it's easier to get in nature than, or like, to not, it's easier to exercise and like just take a walk or, like
Mhm.
go down the streets, check out some new stores. It doesn't have to be like going to the gym,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it could
yeah.
be,
And shopping,
yes,
yeah.
that's exercise. That counts as
Shopping.
steps.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
If that's the case, I get lots and plenty of exercise. I did have a question. That's my question. You said you have a lot of factors and what's the word I'm looking for? Let's find it, Jaden. Solutions to these triggers or when you feel unbalanced.
Mhm.
How do you find these triggers or how do you know when you're not yourself?
That's such a good question. That's so thoughtful. It's how I treat other people. Like when I am the person I want to be, I'm kind and like I want to hear about other people's day and like I'm supportive. When I'm not, I snap and I think that my feelings are more important than what the other person needs, which is not fair. So if I notice that I've been in like a lot of conflict or there's a situation that will not stop bothering me, I know that I just need to take care of myself and do some of those healthy things because
Yeah.
it tells me I went off the rails.
Yeah.
Because if I'm acting like out of my character, it's not for no reason. It's because
Yeah.
like
There's something.
yeah, and I try to take like a gentle perspective with myself to where I'm like not beating myself up for having that moment, but like I'll like make amends and then be like, okay, now I need to take care of myself because that
Yeah.
didn't need to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you.
How
Brings
do
me
you
to my
know
next
when you're
question.
not yourself?
That is a great question. I'm not sure if you're into astrology. Are you into astrology?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm not, but I do know a little about my sign. I'm a Libra. So I do have a scale as my sign. And I do believe that there's some truth behind it when you're feeling yourself or when you're not feeling yourself. And for me to have like a scale, there's like sometimes where I'm super happy or I'm super moody. And you can definitely tell by the way you treat other people and the way that, your energy has been giving off and received. A few triggers for me are I like to isolate sometimes. And self care, there's times where you need to just be alone, but then there's like, okay, are you actually okay or what's going on? That's definitely when I wake up and I'm like, okay, I've been bed rotting for 2 days. Let me actually get up and try to walk outside or open the window. Other times are when I'm like in a big group of people and I just immediately want to go home. Like I just immediately, I'm like, my social butterfly has flown away. She's not nowhere to be found.
I love that.
Yeah, she's not in the picture. Those are definitely times where I consult myself and I'm like, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best idea on how you're feeling and how can we change that?
I love that analogy. My social butterfly is flown away.
Yeah, she has flown far, far, far away. But she'll be back in the morning, and then we'll be all cool again.
The more people I talk to on all these different campuses, like a really, really great part of this work that I've done is I've gotten to travel to all the different schools in Arkansas. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I heard so many people say that the students have become more isolated or like less likely to attend events since the pandemic. And it's hard to get people to leave their rooms. And some people have like started to really struggle with socializing in a way that they didn't before. And so I think that's something that we need to pay attention to and and not be like forcing people to get out there, but just check in about what's really going on.
Yeah,
what's
absolutely.
really keeping you in there.
Absolutely. That was one of my questions as well. Seeing as though our students are very isolated and they rather tune in on the stream instead of coming in person, do you think that has a lot dealing with mental health, or do you think it's just students nowadays?
I think it has a huge impact on mental health. And I think the science backs that up. I can't quote anything here today. Don't make me lie. But so I'll use my own life for evidence. I had my first internship last May. And so I was going to be interning a lot, going to school and working. And I was like, this is the most load I've ever had. I don't have time to be on social media anymore. So I'm going to take that off my phone. So I took it off. And like I've popped in like quarterly like every month, just because sometimes I need to check on my friends and there's some people I only stay in touch with that way. So I'll send them a message or whatever. Hopefully they're not in the hospital or something. Sometimes I worry because
of course. What's going on?
I know. I also am not from Arkansas. So a lot of the people that I care about so much are not here. So anyway, the point is I took all this social media stuff off my phone and it's been almost a year. And it had a huge impact on my mental health, like in a positive way. Like I didn't worry about what other people are doing. I just kind of stay in my lane and like work on what's on my plate. And I guess I miss it as a creative outlet, and I miss my friends far away. And I miss like seeing what everybody's up to and like particularly like visually, it's really inspiring. I feel like I get more excited about getting dressed and stuff when I have that. But I think like not having that be the first thing I look at in the morning or when I go to sleep or like just having that extra mental space, so healthy. So I would recommend that to everyone. It seems extreme. It seems like a lot, especially if you're younger. Like I can see how people are resistant to that. But maybe even taking like a couple days fasting or just being more careful about how much you use it. But I don't miss it at all, honestly. I'll go back on and I'll be like, nope, I know why I left. Like, no.
That's why I left in the first place.
This is why I got out of here. So yes, I recommend that.
Okay. This question is not on the sheet, but I'm just curious. Since we're on the social media topic, students who are intertwined deeply with social media, because now there's networks to make money, there are jobs, and there's a lot of opportunities that are dealing with social media. Do you think that it's best for students to be able to put as much time? Because like you said, there's a lot of creativity and you can talk to people all over the world, all the schools that you go to. Do you think it's best for our students to have so much, like, is it best for us to reach out to the internet as much as we do? Or do you feel like students should be limited to the social media?
So it's a question of like social media is a tool, right? Like a hammer, you can hurt people with a hammer or you can build a house with a hammer. So like, yes, I agree with you that there's tons of opportunities and Like, I think that there's so much beautiful stuff that's going on. And like, you can do things or have careers that weren't available before. And you can just, and really it comes down to people's uniqueness. Like, you can make a living off of just being yourself. And I think that's so amazing. And so I'm never going to say, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, and so like, I encourage people to seize those opportunities. But I know I wasn't doing that. So yeah, for me personally, it's better to not have myself just being like participating and not getting that much out of it. You know, like if somebody is making their money that way and like they're able to like make art, or like maybe they're an excellent cook, or maybe they're just like, being hilarious or whatever, like do that.
Yeah, why not?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like, one of my regrets about ACN, to bring it back to ACN, is that we don't have a social media presence as a whole group, because it's been challenging to figure out who actually that would live with, or like who's in charge of that. But I think you can't not have that if you're trying to do a business or like a social movement. Like, it's very intertwined, like you said. So sometimes I will feel bad about, like, ideally I think it would be a healthy medium, like where you engage a little bit and like enjoy the positive aspects, and then stay away, or like monitor yourself. But for me, I have had to just be like,
completely
I can't.
out of the,
That may not last forever. That might just be this year.
Okay.
Anyways.
So hopefully we come to an agreement somewhere in the middle. You're like, yeah, social media is cool, but not really.
I know. Well, it's just you gotta just be mindful.
Yeah.
Like, but like, I'm sure that there's amazing things happening there that at this point I'm definitely not aware of. I'm out.
Yeah, there's a lot of new things.
What's your take on that?
I feel like social media is a great resource, especially for the new generation, as well as for the older crowd. They're not really as in tune, so you're not going to see as many people building houses on Instagram. You're going to see a lot more people on Twitch, or a lot more people starting a YouTube channel, or on TikTok, and I do feel like those apps are great for people who are trying to find themselves and trying to build careers or companies, or getting their brands out to viewers like you and me. But I also think it is a lot when you're doing it through social media, because there's a lot of people who throw stones but hide their hand. And that could take a lot on your mental health. And in society, there's a certain way that everyone wants to look. Everyone wants to be this one person. Everyone wants to be this, like females nowadays, they all follow the trend, and men nowadays, they all follow the trend as well. And Instagram and other social media platforms like that take a lot on that.
How much do you think drugs and alcohol play into that?
A lot as well. That's part of the trend. That's definitely a part of the trend. For the past 4 years, I'll say, since the pandemic, the music industry has definitely grown into a specific way that everyone wants to look. Everyone wants to be a hip hop star. Everyone wants to be in the studio now. Everyone wants to do the newest drug because it's in the music video, and that's not good. But it's also about their environment, and iron sharpens iron. So what they're around is definitely what they're going to be included in, and we can just hope for the best on that. My next question is, how do you see your company helping with mental health in the future? And do you think that they will surface on social media platforms?
I hope so. That may be out of my hands, but like something that we've talked about is just having, each campus manage that, or like be able to do it locally. I'm really glad that we're talking about mental health so much today. something I've dreamed of for the Arkansas Collegiate Network is to have a type of like a format for support groups for students, especially because that would just make access to mental health resources more universal. Not every school has the same resources, so no matter where you are, you could know that you could go to an ACN group during the week and just like vent, or like, just know that there were going to be people that you would see every week and check in on them. They're going to care about you, and just like a safe place. We've put out some surveys at different schools, and Philander Smith did a survey, and the students asked for non-judgmental spaces to talk. So that's something that I think that we have the ability to encourage, and then also support schools in making it happen, because you need someone to facilitate a support group. So we've talked about having interns, like counseling interns, do it. And when ACN is at its best, I think it's when it's student driven, or like heavily student focused. So my dream would be to have every school have free therapy for every student. But like, if we can't provide that, what can we do? And I think getting these student, like a peer-to-peer group would be a really good thing, but I can't make that happen. I can give people the tools, and then if they want to pick them up, they can.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I do think that'll be beneficial as well, having the students interact with each other. But that's totally up to them.
It is, yes.
My next question is, what has been the most rewarding experience with ACN?
I love that question. Honestly, it's whenever I'm on campus, like being here with you is so rewarding. And like my life, sometimes I'm in the office, I'm like in a cubicle and I'm writing reports. Like, that's not glamorous. But anytime I've been able to be with students and like in the actual work that drives why this is important to me, that's really rewarding. Just even being at school and seeing the box, like the opioid overdose response kit on the wall, I was like, I had a part in that, you know? Like, I helped get those out to the colleges, and that means that like someone doesn't have to die, you know? And that's like, that's so rewarding.
Yeah.
And frankly, like, when I've come to events on campus, I was thinking back, I told you a little bit about the shorter college event that I attended. Just seeing the students connecting and doing things that made them feel relaxed and happy, and like seeing that in real life happen is so rewarding. Because you can have these big missions, like these, like, we're going to end substance abuse. Like, that's hard. But just these moments of connection and being a part of them is amazing. So that's a great question.
That's great. That is great. Speaking on that, when you do go to different colleges or speak to students, what are some signs that you look out for? You know, you've never met these students before, but you just want to keep a close eye on any unnoticeable but noticeable things.
So I'm never going to come up to a student and be like, you need to go to treatment. Like, that would never happen. But I would say, I think the isolation is a big red flag, especially if you notice like somebody has been pulling away from things that they used to do, that like, you used to see them, you know, like, and I would also, somebody who's not connected to school, like if they're not, I think disengagement is a huge red flag, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that sometimes it would seem more obvious that it's like people acting out with negative behaviors. I think especially with college students, it's the reverse. Like, it's people pulling away and people
like
doing
not
less.
showing as much.
Yeah. And they might be doing those negative behaviors elsewhere, but like less a part of the healthy part of them is less visible. So I guess that's what I would say.
Okay. Any advice that you would give to any students that are feeling underwhelmed or not as enthusiastic these days?
I would say this is what I do in my own life. Like, find beauty in the little moments. Like, I have class or work 12 hours a day most days. And so I only get a couple of little breaks. And so I'll step outside and be like, I get to like, I look at the sunset, or like I'll text a friend and be like, hey, I'm thinking of you. Or, you know, like it all comes down to very tiny things. I think that doing those on purpose and doing them consistently has a big impact. And so if you're losing your joy of life, I try to, like, for example, this is what I've been doing lately. Everyone has to eat. Even busy people have to eat.
Absolutely.
And get to eat. So I've been like, I don't have a TikTok, but I've been searching TikTok to look for new ways to cook my meals, or like new ideas. So like putting like, and so I'll like make it, and then I'll make it really artistic when I put it on the plate. And like, so taking the mundane experiences of life, but making them like romanticizing them, or making them extra, or, you know, like just those, that's how I can like revive myself. It's by finding like pleasure and beauty in like normal parts of life.
Understood. I totally understand that. Sometimes I get in the kitchen and it could be a simple chicken breast that I fry with mashed potatoes, but I'll just try to chop it up all nice and put it on top with a little gravy on the side of the plate to make it look like I did something.
Totally.
And it'll make my night, because like I did that.
And you have to take a picture of it. Of course.
Yeah,
I do.
You don't have to post it or anything, but you can go back and be like, you know, if this school thing doesn't work out, I could always be a chef. That's or something.
Right. You could be a TikTok chef.
Yeah, definitely understand that. Are there any, let me say that differently. What advice would you give your younger self
I love that.
before coming into college?
Before going to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I felt like I was always comparing myself to everybody else. And it seemed like everybody else was like, I'm going to be a surgeon, or like, I'm an engineer. Like they instantly knew that by the time they were like 12. You know, and I was like, when am I going to know that? You know? And I would tell her that you don't ever have to know that. You can just keep, your life kind of unfolds. And I get to like, my life, I feel like I discover it every day. And so as long as you're walking, you can always change your direction, but just start walking. Like the only way, like the time in my life that I regret is really when I've been stuck and not able to, like, you know, be walking towards something. That's why my plate is so overloaded now, because I feel like I'm catching up on a lot of the things that I didn't do because I was afraid of making the wrong decision. But once I got the attitude of just start walking, you know, and you can kind of figure out what feels like home and what doesn't.
Of course.
That I wish I knew that. But thanks for asking that.
Of course. Speaking on that, there are a lot of students, me as well, that may feel like they're behind and that everyone else has already figured their life out and everyone's already got it written down and written in stone. Do you have any words of aspiration to give to those students who feel like they're not moving fast enough? Like they're walking, but they're not walking fast enough.
You're always exactly where you need to be. And I think that's cheesy, but like that's always true. Like right now, we're exactly where we need to be. And we're having this conversation. This is so beautiful that we're sharing this moment. This is exactly where we needed to be. And sometimes when I've looked back and been like, there's times in my life periods where I was like, why am I still here? Like, why haven't I leveled up? Or like, you know, why is it taking so long? And I look back and I'm like, oh, even though on paper that didn't look that impressive, I was learning how to like get along with different people, or like I was learning how to develop those self-care techniques that we talked about, or like, and like on the outside, I kept feeling like I wasn't doing enough, or, you know, like even my parents sometimes are like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, oh, I was learning, I was becoming myself. Like, so, you know, it's okay. And also these days people change careers all the time. So I've actually gone into law school with totally okay with not knowing what kind of law I want to practice. And then, because I'm like, I don't know enough to know that. Like, you know, I'm figuring that out as time has gone on. But in the beginning, I was like, I don't have to tell anybody. I don't have to make an answer for someone else to feel like, to make them feel more comfortable. You know, like I'm okay with finding that out over a period of time. So I guess just like understanding that getting to know yourself takes a long time, and it's like literally goes on your whole life.
So basically, just be patient.
Yeah, it's okay. And you may be like building something that you can't see yet.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did I hear that? Okay. Just to get back on track with the Save Our Students Week.
Save Our Students Week.
Because that's what we are here for, not Jaden's TED Talk. A little bit about Save Our Students Week. Do you mind going down the line for the events that we are having this week?
I would love to. Okay. So here I have this wonderful flyer. We have all the Save Our Students events here at Shorter this week. So right here and now, where the Shorty Blues podcast is happening. Thanks for being here. And then tomorrow we've got 2 events. One at 9 a.m., which is the suicide prevention walk. So important.
Yes.
Talk about getting out there and connecting and, doing
making
something
awareness.
Meaningful. Yes. And then in the afternoon, the sober splashdown.
Oh gosh,
that's going to be fun. Next, on April 17th is Swish for Wellness, which I found out is a student versus faculty staff basketball game.
It is, and I cannot wait to see who is participating in these basketball games.
I don't know who's your money on, the staff or the students.
The students, they've been kind of iffy, so I might have to go with staff on this one. I might have to go with staff.
That's so funny. And then to close it all down, the last event of the week, and then I think we both think this is our favorite, is the S'mores and Chill.
Yes.
7 o'clock.
Yes, that is definitely going to be a favorite of mine. Not just because I get to eat, but definitely because it'll definitely be a chill vibe. Yes. Students and staff can come together before a lot of graduates head out, make a lot more memories.
Yes. And just huge shout out to Brittany Burgess for putting together all this amazing programming. By the way, if you see, yes, thank you. Our studio audience, give her some appreciation. If you get one of these flyers, they have a QR code so you can sign up for the events. And
yes. Yeah. And you will also get a free t-shirt if you scan a little QR code at the right hand side. Yeah. So with these events, what outcome do you think this week will have on students at Shorter's campus?
Hopefully changing their mind. If they were, hesitant to go out, they'll say, oh, that was fun. Or like, I met this new person that I never talked to. Or, oh, I actually had a great time at that s'mores event. Showing one of our goals at all the schools is to have substance-free events so that people can actually relax and have a good time and realize that that's totally possible and fun. And like my ultimate fantasy would be that people realize that that was a good time and they could do that on their own time. Or like if they're wanting to like have a party, that it could
happen.
Yeah, it could be just students like, oh, what if we just got together and made s'mores? That would be cool.
I definitely hope that comes out as well. That students know that they have free range to have a say-so in how they want to live their campus life.
Yes, they're creating their campus life and their campus culture. Like people, you can contribute so much more than you realize. So maybe realizing that there's more possibilities of what you could contribute.
Absolutely. Well, were there any questions on my list that you wanted to answer?
Oh my gosh. We went through so many great ones and then bonus ones that I feel like you might consider this as a future avenue. You should you do a really good job interviewing. Oh my gosh. I have something so stupid to say.
Okay.
I have to. One of the questions that I saw was, if Save Our Students Week had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, that is a great question.
The first thing that came blasting in my head was like the Olympic music. Please don't use that.
No, that would definitely be great advertisement. You just got people running and throwing water balloons. That would be amazing.
But in all seriousness, like, I'm just so glad I got to come here and talk to you. And
thank you.
My hope for Save Our Students, or like the Arkansas Collegiate Network, is that it really gets like passed on to the students, or it always belongs to them. So I can be in my job, and as the students like progress in their journeys and, maybe graduate, I'll be here, but I really want the students to take it and run with it because
Yeah.
it was born from students.
Yeah.
So it will always belong to them. So like really all our representatives have shown me that there's like thousands of ways to be involved, and it just takes some creativity.
Mhm.
And so like Shorter College actually has some of our most creative events in the state, in my opinion.
Really?
So like you guys are really fortunate to have that, because the people who are supporting you here really care.
Yeah.
And but this can be anything that you want, and students can take charge of their own well-being.
Mhm.
So, and I think students really care about that. I think mental health is something that people are really talking about.
Mhm.
And then maybe it's great to be talking about it, but then what's next?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think whatever is next for Save Our Students, or what for ACN, is going to be in the hands of the students, which is a great thing.
Yes.
So, and thank you for being part of that, because like what we're doing right now is probably going to have a big impact, and like you're one of the people that I'm talking about. So
Well, thank you so much.
this is what it looks like.
Thank you. And thank you for coming to our first podcast ever.
It's a great podcast.
Thank you. We do have a drawing, and we're going to let you take the honors
Oh my
of picking
goodness.
out the name.
Okay, this is exciting. Don't blame me, anybody, if I don't pick you.
We're not going to do that.
Okay. Do you want to hold it? I'll like shake it up.
There's a bunch of stuff in here.
Okay.
Everyone close their eyes.
Mrs. Carter,
Mrs. Carter.
you won. Oh my goodness. What did you win?
Gift card.
A gift card.
Yay.
Incredible. Congratulations, Mrs. Carter.
Congratulations.
You deserve it.
Set that there. Okay.
Do we have any questions from our audience?
Yes.
Okay, so if this is not a question you can answer, understand, but if I remember correctly, a few years ago, there was a law passed where people cannot be prosecuted if they are also doing drugs at the time, if they experience someone doing an overdose and they call the police. Is that accurate?
I'm really glad you brought that up. So that's our Good Samaritan law in Arkansas, and that's the Joshua Ashley Polly Act. So yes, that is still active. It means that if you are in good faith trying to seek medical care for somebody because you think that they've overdosed or like maybe drank too much alcohol, you won't be charged or with any. You can be charged for outstanding warrants. Like if you had a warrant already, you're not like completely like total immunity, but you would be protected from prosecution for seeking help for that person. And that is actually, thank you for asking that, because letting people know about those laws, people don't even some people don't even know about that.
Yeah, because I have no idea what
Yes.
that was.
So just telling people that that is a law that's there to protect them, and that really affects students, because Joshua Ashley Polly was a student who died at UCA. And his mom, Kim, is really involved with UCA now, and she's got that legislature. Anyways, yes. So I see our job as letting people know about that. And some of the campus representatives had made it, they're taking on that as a project of like, I want to let everyone at this school know about that. Because, and then some people don't think like, schools can have their own policies, like their own Good Samaritan policies, or it's called like medical amnesty policies. And not every school wants to adopt that.
Yeah.
Which is, every school's decision. But like from my perspective, I want to advocate for everyone to have that, because if that's what's standing in between somebody getting help, like save the life,
Mhm.
So yes.
So when you say that, are you saying, so for instance, if the young man that passed away, had they called and this law had been in effect, they would have been prosecuted for drug use?
No.
But the college could have suspended him. So you're
Well, UCA has its own medical amnesty policy now.
They did.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that schools
Yes.
Extension
Exactly.
for this.
Yes.
Or let this count against you for something else you're already.
Yes. And that's something that we've talked about in our coalition meetings. Like we had everybody look up and find out what your school's drug and alcohol policy is, because you may not know, and see they have different tones. Some of them are more harsh, like you're going to get suspended if you're caught doing this. And some of them are like, you're going to go to counseling, or we're going to see what's going on with you, or, we're going to do community service or whatever. So there's a range for the tone of those policies, and the consequences, like the state law protects you from legal consequences, but it may not protect you from your campus's consequences. So I think philosophically, this is my opinion. It's not like the state opinion, but I think kindness does a lot more to actually solve the problem that you're trying to solve. Than, and then I've also heard people say that they needed discipline, or like, it's a I guess not controversial, but people have a lot of different opinions about this issue, I'm sure. What makes you ask that?
I just want to make sure students know that. I would hate to. I mean, I just think to the young men that were with the young men in the past,
Yeah.
what they have to live with now.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say, oh, they should have just called, but they're also very scared of what's going to happen to them.
Yes.
So now, if they don't have to worry about that, if they didn't have to worry about that, that young man would probably still be.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for those great questions. Maybe you can be our new campus representative at Shorter and help people know about Joshua, Ashley, Polyak, team up with Brittany. We're always trying to form coalitions on campus. And so I think the best coalitions draw from a lot of different disciplines. So if you have, like someone in the counseling center, a nurse, campus PD, and then, different types of professors, everybody has a different perspective to share. And solving that problem with a lot of different people, with different backgrounds is so powerful. And that's another part of the work that's so rewarding, is seeing people team up like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yes. So do I think that students isolating and choosing social media over real life interactions affects their ability to socialize? Yes, I do. Do you? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Students now are more emotional. I'm not going to say sensitive, because I wouldn't want to be called sensitive, but they are emotionally bound. You could say the wrong word to a young person and they might not take it as the way that you believe that you're saying it. And that causes a lot of students to not want to go out and socialize, as well as a lot of things that we see on social media. With the incident that happened this weekend, that might cause a lot of students to not want to go to as many big events like that. But then again, it might focus I don't really know how I'm trying to say this. It might cause a focus on bigger events, and it might actually bring people out in memory of those students. But it definitely has a toll on socializing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Can you say the last part? You said chaotic, and then. Oh.
Would I have a solution? Um, Honestly, I really don't think there is a solution. I feel like these are one of those obstacles that just really has to go with the wind. Because I feel like it's like a fire. The more you try to, the more it'll just burst out, you know? And a lot of the chaos comes from the young men in our generation, and a lot of the young men don't have a strong foundation or a strong motivation to focus their time on other things. And a lot of the young women are, I don't want to say aging it on, but they are not really helping in ways that we should be helping our peers, you know? And then there's already a lot of controversy on social media, and with everyone just fighting and bickering all the time, no one really wants to just put their hand out there and try to fix it because they're afraid that they might also become a part of the chaos. And that comes with isolation as well. Some students don't feel like they have as much as a say so, and a lot of these chaos moments that happen, and they're not viewed as much as they should be. So they just go in one ear and out the other. Like the event that happened this weekend, there's a lot of controversy about it right now, but I can guarantee you it'll be a whole lot worse by Friday. You'll hear about another car crash or another student that mistakenly lost their life because they went to a college party this weekend. So I do feel like there is no solution as of right now, especially coming from a student who is in the chaos. But I do hope that it gets better. Yeah.
Maybe the s'mores and chill is very needed this
Hopefully.
week.
Yeah, very much needed. I think they need a chill and then a chiller.
Yes.
Yes.
Pardon? Oh, okay.
Well, thank you again so much, Miss.
I'm Cody Conway.
Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we have you back.
I would love to be back.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
I hope you host again because you crushed it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming.